but can they avoid a complete and total beatdown? FBI not impressed. Neither is Vegas. What about Cedric Golden, who's a longtime columnist in Austin? And it's great to say hello to you, Ced. Enjoyed being on your podcast earlier today with the legendary Kurt Bowles. I say legendary because he's been at a newspaper longer than most people are alive. But how are you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. Why don't you just say he's old? That's okay, Paul.
Well,
it's okay to say.
I don't want to say that because then that would make it sound like I've known him all my life, which is pretty similar to him. Let's talk about this weekend, Ced, because it is the game of the day. We're all excited about it, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to be much of a game, does it?
Not to me. I mean, I think that the Longhorns can hang around for a minute, and Alabama's just too strong. And I know you guys just posted my column on the screen, and I asked Steve Sarkisian on Monday, I go, you're going from Glass Joe to Mr. Sandman. How are you going to be able to navigate that within a week? You know, he played that video game, so he got the reference, and now I'm old. But it's just such a step up in competition, and it's going to be tough for them with 14 freshmen on the two deep going up against one of the most experienced, explosive teams in America, and also being step number 2 on the Nick Saban Revenge Tour 2022, because this is what that is, Paul. Nick Saban's on a mission this year.
You know, I want to ask you about that because, I mean, we all know the relationship, but you're suggesting in your theory on this season that Nick Saban doesn't care. And you talk about a revenge tour. Usually you're on a revenge tour, said, when you've had a bad season. Well, I just answered my own question. He did have a bad season last year.
For them.
He came in second.
Mm-hmm. That's a bad season for them. It's been a minute since they won a national championship. So tell that to people in Austin, but it's going to be 20 years in a couple of years. But for me, I think that he has his team in the right frame of mind to come in to Austin, spit and fire, and just ready to kill. And I love what I'm hearing from the Texas side of things. Steve Sarkisian has this team all on the same page. He has the buy-in, total buy-in that he didn't have last season. And it's just a really tough assignment in week 2. You'd rather see him in week 4 or 5 when he knows who he can depend on. There's some unproven quantities on this team that are going to have to play. And, Paul, the difference is Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, Ryan Day, they have those programs established. They can slow cook their young players. That means bring them along slowly. But Nick Saban doesn't have to do that, and those other guys don't have to do that. Steve Sarkisian, he's got his guys in the microwave. They've got to play right away. He's got to have them warm and ready as freshmen. Boy, that's a tall task, my friend.
Well, we know Robinson's a great running back. We're told the quarterback is great. He was in the 11th grade. But give us the lowdown on Quinn Ewers, and because he was a number 1 player in the country a couple of years ago, and he's about to be challenged by a similar type player next year. But what about him? What has he done, and what should we expect?
Huge upside. But the problem is we might not see it this weekend. Upside shows up later. Upside doesn't show up in 3 days. So I think that he's got a chance to be a really good college quarterback. He has a live arm. I heard Brian Robinson's interview. He did miss a couple of deep throws to Xavier Worthy, who's a fine receiver who will play in the league one day. But he's got this laid-back, cool demeanor, which will probably benefit Texas when they're under fire, which will be Saturday. But you worry about the protection. The talent is there. He's got an All-America type running back, an All-America type receiver. The offensive line is the biggest issue. Can you keep him upright against guys like Will Anderson? I just think it's a really tough task for Texas. I think the best thing for Texas, besides winning the game, of course, is to give a great accounting of themselves not get embarrassed, and maintain and retain that confidence they have going into the rest of non-conference and then entering the Texas Tech game.
Was Ced Golden. Ced, it's a question that's asked many times, and it may be asked a lot more in the future. What happened to Texas, and why has it taken so long for this program to get its groove back?
Well, number one, Nick Saban didn't take the job. That kind of hurt him. And then they had a bad hire in Charlie Strong, a good guy who didn't win. Tom Herman won a little bit, but they brought him in. They didn't bring him in to go 8-4 every year. So, and then I think there were some things that the administration didn't like that were internal, shall we say. And so that's basically in a nutshell what happened. Mac Brown missed on some name recruits. Garrett Gilbert instead of Andrew Luck, to name one. There are some big misses. And when you miss at quarterback, Paul, the way the game is now, where the quarterback is the most important guy on the field, this is a pass first era. It's not 09 where Trent Richardson and Mark Ingram were rumbling. This is a quarterback era. And so when you miss on that position, you put yourself behind the 8 ball. And so what happens is you saw other quarterbacks rise to the front in the Big 12, like Robert Griffin III, guys like that. And nationally, you saw Johnny Manziel and Terrell Pryor and guys like that start to take over. And so in the 10 years, basically since Mac has left, 9 years, they haven't had a regular season of 10 wins since. The last time they won 10 wins in a regular season was 09 when they lost to Alabama in the national championship game.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.